So when I say that life wasn't normal, the streetcars were not running properly. Here and there were a few streetcars, and so there were strikes by the workers, general strike, for example. So it was periodic, but it just, life did not go back to a normal, everyday routine life. I can't explain it any other way.
Were you able to see Gabi on a regular basis still?
Not on a regular basis, but because we lived very far away.
Yeah.
But yes, we did see each other. He came to see us, and then he stayed over. He stayed. By that time, unfortunately, my grandfather was in the hospital. He got a cold in the bunker, and my uncle took him to the hospital because there was plenty of food there, and so my grandfather was in the hospital, and Gabi sometimes slept in the room, my grandfather's room, because as I said, the streetcars were not properly running. And anyway, I went to work on a Saturday morning because we worked on Saturdays
A regular full day set?
till noon. And one of my colleagues came over and said, Kati, I heard a good route and an address of a peasant who would take you out to Austria if you are interested. I said, well, I might be interested. I am going to call my fiance. So I called him at the office, and he said, I don't mind it. If you think that's a proper thing to do, let's go. So that's how we decided to leave Hungary.
Isn't there a story though that he said he was in a meeting?
Well, that was later.
That was later.
So we decided, okay, we are going to leave it, and the guy is going to give me the address, and which he did. And a few, well, maybe half an hour later, he came and said, I was thinking, Kati, maybe the two of you should get married because if you reach Austria, you will be put in separate camps if you're not married. That's a good idea. So I phoned Gabi again and I said, listen, this says we should get married. I can't now, I am in a meeting, he said. But then he agreed. So that's how my huge wedding was. We decided to meet at 11 o'clock at the town center office, and that was it. We got married. Two people from the government office were the witnesses, and because I was 18, I was allowed to get married. I was at age. And then I said that now I'm going to go to the hospital to say goodbye to my grandfather. And he went home to tell his father that we are leaving tomorrow. So I said goodbye to my grandfather. That was not very pleasant. That was sad because I knew I will never see him again, and he also knew that he will never see me again. So I said goodbye to Tibor, and he gave me whatever money he had on him and in the office where he was at the hospital, and said to me, I am really, really thinking what your father would say to you. And that was very touching. But he was giving all the help he can. Then I went home and told my mother that I got married and tomorrow I'm going to leave Hungary. Well, she wasn't very happy. She was not very happy.
Did she try to persuade you not to?
Uh, my aunt, Ilika, was telling her, tell her she can't go. And my mother said, I don't have the right to tell her that. And that was it. She realized that she doesn't have the right to tell me whether I can go or not. You have to understand the whole atmosphere in Hungary. We didn't know what's going to happen. We didn't know what's going to happen to Gabi, whether he will be arrested, taking part in the sort of new management and all that. We really didn't know what's going to happen. So that's what my mother felt, that she has no right to tell me that I have to stay in a place where we don't know what's going to happen.
And also, you must have had some fear because you didn't know what you were going to as well.
I suppose I didn't have. I was 18 years old, and I never thought. How should I say? To me, it was an adventure, a big, big adventure. So the next morning, we went to the train station, and
What did you bring with you?
nothing,
Luggage?
no luggage, a
No,
bag,
a bag of no
a
change.
bag of a warm pullover, which was Aniko's, and Aniko was twice my size, and uh, and the night gone. I had nothing, zero. I had no money, except what Tibor gave me, which we had to give to the farmer who
Smuggled
took
you.
us. So Gabi bought the train tickets, and Gabi didn't have anything either. We really truly didn't have anything. And it was very eerie to go to the station because as we were walking across the bridge, we heard the Russian tanks going by in the back. That was not a very good feeling. So, anyway, we got to the station, we got on the train going west. And the atmosphere on the train was just unbelievable. People were going on a big adventure, and the conductor came to look at our ticket, and he said, are you sure you don't want your ticket to go to Vienna? And things like that. So everybody knew, whoever was on that train at 6 o'clock in the morning, they are going to go further than the border. So we found that place, the farmer, and at, we had to wait for for the darkness, and there was a whole group.
The farmer was it like it must have been difficult to find. You've never been there. There's no maps. Like what town do you remember?
Well, it was in the city, not city. I mean
Okay.
a village, and I don't know how we found him, to tell you honestly,
Okay.
but we found him. And so we started at night. Unfortunately, we heard "stoi," which in Russian stop, and the Russians got us. They were very friendly, extremely friendly. They made a nice campfire for us.
How many? Was it 20 people? 10 people?
About 20 people,
Okay.
yes. About 20 people. And families with children, and yeah, from Budapest, families. And they made campfire for us, and we were singing Russian folk songs. That's all I could say in Russian. Anyway, they brought a big truck for us, one of those open trucks,
Mhm.
and took us back to the town's railway station and told us to go home. Well, we got on the train, and the next station we got off again and tried again. We didn't know what's going to happen, but we were looking around in that little town, and someone was approaching Gabi. Again, because Gabi so obviously did look like Jewish, there was a group of people arranging going through the border the next night and saw Gabi and said, "Would you like to join us? We are going to this and this place, and the farmer is going to take us through the border." So Gabi said, "Why not?" So we went with them the next night, and unfortunately, they had a baby with them. And they put the baby to sleep with a sleeping pill. But we had to wait so long to start because of the moon that the baby woke up. So we had to make huge detours. We were walking all night, but we were able to cross the border. And that's one thing I remember. I looked back. It was a little bridge we had to cross, yeah? So I crossed the bridge. At that time, I was in Austria already. And looking back, I said, "Oh my God, I will never be home again." And that was a little bit iffy. That was it really got to me, other than being an adventure.
So you guys didn't sleep, didn't eat, or
Well,
you
students were waiting for us.
in Austria?
Austrian students were waiting for us, university students. And they took us to a school. By that time, it was totally organized by the Austrian authorities. Don't forget, 200,000 Hungarians left, most of them through Austria, some of them through Yugoslavia, but very small numbers. So it was very well organized. We were taken to a school building, and that's where we slept and we were fed. And the next day, we decided that whatever left of our money, we are going to spend to go to Vienna on the train. And they accepted Hungarian money.
Really?
Well, they were trying to
Yes.
help. Don't forget, it was only a year before that the Russian troops left Austria. Austria was under the four power um, management before that. So we arrived in Austria. By that time, it was rather crowded with refugees. And we went to the HIAS, which is the Jewish organization, and they were very well organized, but very crowded by then. And we were walking in Vienna on the street. It was beautiful, just absolutely. For us to see Vienna on the 6th of uh, December with all the Christmas decoration already, it was like a fairy tale. Budapest was dark and dirty, and Vienna was just sparkling with light, Christmas decoration, and it was just unbelievable. And that's when we left a railway station. Uh, I looked at and I said to Gabi, "What is that?" And he said, "Bananas." I never seen a banana in my life. So In Vienna, we were very crowded. Someone heard us speaking Hungarian and said, "Can I help you?" And we said, "If you could help us to try to phone Budapest to tell our parents that we are alive, we would appreciate it." And and he paid for it. In those days, long distance calls were
Yeah.
difficult, tiresome, time consuming, and very expensive. And we waited practically all night at the postal station for our call to come in. Unfortunately, neither my phone, or anybody's phone worked except Tibor's. Tibor was the only one who we were able to contact, and he was the one who contacted after uh, my father-in-law and my mother. So as we were walking back to the Hias building, we saw a huge bus, and the guy said in front of it that if you sit on the bus, we will take you to Linz, where you will be in a placed in a hotel. Okay, so we went to Linz, and that again was just a marvelous trip uh, through already the Austrian mountains, and we stopped in an inn which was clean and beautiful and elegant and rich in our eyes. So it was like being in a fairy tale. And in Vienna, they heard that we were uh, newlywed, and so they gave us a tiny little room, hotel room by ourselves, and others were put in a large room and
Together.
multiple
Yeah.
beds and everything. It was really a hotel um, of not the best.
Yeah. Sorry, this was in Austria, in Vienna or in Linz?
That was in Linz.
In Linz. Okay.
When we are in Linz, we were in a hotel in Linz, and we got some money from every day. We got some money from the uh, Jewish organization. It was sent by the American Jewish organization, and we lived fairly well, in our standard, of
Yeah.
course. And but we wanted to get away. We wanted to get away. Um First, we thought of. I wanted to get away from Europe because two reasons. One was the war, and the second was that there is such an anti-Semitism. I didn't want to go to the States. I said if I have sons, they will have to go to the army, and I don't want that.
I wonder how you knew that.
I
that's
don't
gonna-
know.
okay.
I have absolutely no idea. I was 18 years old. Why on earth did I say that? I have no idea, but I said it. And we even thought of Australia, but that was too far. We felt it was too far. And Gobby had a distant cousin in Canada. So we decided to come to Canada.
In Montreal.
Yeah, she lived in Montreal. And we knew nothing about Canada. Well, we knew the Rocky Mountains, we knew the quadruplets, the Dion
Dion
sisters,
quadruplets, yeah.
and for some reason, a famous apple, I have no idea. Oh, and the wheat farms. Yeah. And that was it. Absolutely
So
nothing.
you stayed in Linz and in
We-
that hotel for how
Well,
long?
we stayed in a hotel until we were able to go to the Canadian embassy or delegation, who were the immigration office where we registered and said we would like to come to Canada, and they accepted us. So on the 27th, yeah, the 27th of December, we got on the train, a group of us. We got on the train and left for Bremenhaven,
Which is where?
which is in Germany, and got on a German ship
Do you remember
to,
the name of the ship? Do you
yes,
remember?
Arosa Star. There is a
Yeah.
picture of it
Yeah.
on the wall. Yes.
So did you meet anybody in Austria who became friends and went with
Yes,
you?
but unfortunately, those people went to Australia. But we met Mari Kirai and Lotzi Kirai there. We were there together, and we went to the embassy together, and they were the ones who also came on the same ship as us,
And to Montreal.
and Montreal too. And so we were on the German ship, which was a very very small ship. I think 8,000 ton only.
Can you, what was the date that you
Well,
got on the ship? Do you remember the date?
date?
Yeah, what date? Was it December
Yeah, December 28th.
28th?
December 28th, we got on the ship and left from Bremenhaven. The trip was not very pleasant for me because when we went through the English Channel, I started to feel seasick, and I stopped being seasick when we were in the Southern Sleeper. So I was sick for 9 days,
For the 9 days?
and
And Gabi wasn't seasick.
he was not seasick at all. Sometimes him and Marikidai were the only ones who went to the dining room. But he went down to the kitchen and asked for some potato to bring me up so I can eat something. The
Something bland.
German cuisine was not very good for a person who was seasick. Not at all. And there were some ugly incidents. I don't know if I go into that on the ship.
Relating to,
If there were 1,200 Hungarians on the ship, okay? 200 were Jewish. And the German captain got hold of the fact that the Hungarians wanted to throw the 200 Jews into the sea. So we were told to stay in our cabin, and that was a very strange experience for me that the German crew were up all night to save us. And that was not a very good experience, as you can imagine. But anyhow, we arrived to St. John, New Brunswick, and it was bitterly cold. It was bitterly cold. Each of us got $5 as we landed, got off the ship, landed, and huge buses were waiting for us and took us uh, to a train station because we were our destination was Quebec City to be quarantined for a week until the medical examination were completed. Austria was so jammed with refugees that they were not able to do it, and they wanted to help the Austrians, so they took us without our medical. So we stayed in quarantine in Quebec City for a week. It was bitterly cold. We were not allowed to go out, but of course, your father is someone who, when he hears that he cannot do something, he does it. So,
Did they provide the proper coats and things like
no,
that?
no, we were in our little tiny winter coats that we left Hungary. But he had no experience of that kind of cold. So Laci Király and himself went out to just look around Quebec
Explore.
City, explore Quebec City. Well, they didn't go too far. When they came back, they were totally, absolutely frozen. They never experienced that kind of cold. It was 40 below. But anyhow, uh, we were in Quebec City uh, in quarantine one night, Friday night. The Quebec Jewish Society came in and asked how many Jews are in the camp, and they wanted to supply us with a Friday night dinner, which they did for 200 people, which is absolutely amazing. And
This
as
camp had 1,200 people in it?
yes, it was a huge school building,
The school building.
and we were in bed
Yes.
like this. It was not hotel like accommodation, definitely. And we got through the medicals. In those days, only who had um, guaranteed relatives or someone to give sponsorship were able to go to Montreal or Toronto. The rest of them had to go to either Edmonton or Vancouver. Those were the two cities I remember. And because the cousin was in Montreal, we decided that we phoned them and they accepted us. And so we left. After a week, we were able to leave for Montreal on a train. And that's when we learned that Montreal was not only English but bilingual. We had no idea about that. But I didn't speak English either, so it doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me. So we got to our, Gabi's relative, and one night we stayed with them. And then the next day they came with us to rent a room. In those days in Montreal there were flats with a center living quarter and then 4 or 5 bedrooms. And the custom was that the landlady rented a room to everybody, common kitchen, and each room had a little fridge and a sink, but that's all, and a common kitchen.
And
So
washroom, common washroom.
common washroom except the sink. Okay,
So it's what?
and so we stayed there, and they took us shopping. Never even imagined a store like Stamberg, the supermarket. It was just unbelievable. The variety of food and the abundance of everything. And the next day, we were working. Gabi was working in a textile factory as a shipper, and I was working in a little tiny company packaging the refill for the ballpoint pens. And these jobs were minimal wage, of course, but these were uh, by the Jewish organization were trying to help us. So this is how we started a huge career in